Good afternoon. I'm excited to be back in front of you to bring to you a wonderful candidate, Scott Fegler from District 6. But first, I wanted to introduce myself. I am Felicia Malelli, the board chair of New Jersey Public Health Innovation Political Action Committee, and this is the PAC Chat. Whether you are tuning in for the first time or you're a returning viewer, welcome. I'm excited to guide you through this important conversation today. The PAC Chat was created to provide a platform for New Jersey voters to meet vetted and qualified candidates, as well as health freedom advocates. NJ5PAC acts as a bridge for health freedom candidates to New Jersey voters, allowing you to hear directly from candidates their positions on mission-centered topics like informed consent, health freedom, and parental rights. And in this case, in the case of federal and DC candidates, preserving American sovereignty. Our ultimate goal is to enhance the quality, transparency, and mechanisms that deliver the highest standards of health for you and your families, and consequently rid the state of any lawmakers who do not align with that goal. Public health cannot be a one-size-fits-all approach. It is the collective outcome of the personal health of every individual, every man, woman, and child in our community. When our elected officials prioritize and respect the health of each person, they foster a healthier community for all of us. For those who've been following our work, we hope you recognize our unwavering commitment to empowering you, our community, by keeping you informed about health freedom candidates running to represent New Jersey, as well as keeping you abreast of the latest threats, bills, and successes in the fight for freedom, both statewide and nationally. We aim to arm you with the knowledge, resources, and tools so that you are empowered to advocate for yourselves and your families. Because together, we can work to steer our state back on track, ensuring that our voices are not just heard, but respected. So let us stand united in this vital mission, advocating for our rights, ensuring that health sovereignty remains a fundamental aspect of our lives. And thank you for being here. And before we dive in today, I just wanted to also remind everybody to go to our website. It's njphipac.org and consider a contribution. 100% of our contribution goes to meeting with candidates and electioneering in key strategic elections. Now, I'd love to introduce a board member of NJ5PAC, Melanie Dragon. Hey, Mel.
Hey, good afternoon, Felicia. Good afternoon, everyone. And now, without further ado, I have the pleasure of introducing you all to the Republican congressional candidate for the 6th District of New Jersey, Scott Fegler. Hey, Scott, how are you?
Good. How you guys doing?
Great. We're so happy to have you here today. And on behalf of the board, we want to thank you outwardly for taking a stand on this important issue of health freedom and parental rights here in New Jersey.
Awesome. Thank you. Of course.
So for those of you unfamiliar with the parameters of Congressional District 6, this district includes both Monmouth and Middlesex counties. So Scott, we're excited to have you here on the PAC Chat. And I'm actually going to hand the mic over to you so you can tell our viewers a little bit about yourself, personally, your professional life, and who you are outside of politics.
Awesome. Great. Thanks. So my name is Scott Fegler. I grew up in central New Jersey. Yes, it exists. So I grew up in Matawan, New Jersey. I went to Christian Brothers Academy. Then I went on to St. Joe's University, studied food marketing. And I've been in the food industry for the last 20 years. As funny as it sounds, I run a cheese factory. Our factory is down in Lakewood, New Jersey. We cut about 15 million pounds of cheese. There is a staff down there of about 110 people. But the unique thing about, I guess, our business is that it's mainly imported cheeses and imported foods. So for the last 15 years or so, I've really been understanding and studying imported foods and how those differ from domestic foods. So I guess, the whole Make America Healthy Again movement, right, is really unique because, and it ties a lot into this, is that, we're getting more and more sick as a country and as a nation, despite billions and trillions of dollars moving into our healthcare. And essentially, right, the food industry is poisoning us. So very aware of this, and it's like 30 to 40% of the reason I'm running for office, to help fix our food system, help make America healthy again, and to help restore, freedoms, as well as to end corruption. So who I am outside of work, I'm a married man. I've been married for about 3 years. We live down the shore, a little great town called the Highlands, New Jersey. I used to play golf before politics, not so much time for that anymore. And yeah, that's me in a quick minute.
Well, thanks so much for sharing all of that about you and the fact that you recognize as a businessman, how important it is to have healthy foods here in the United States, specifically New Jersey, to ensure that our residents are healthy, because it's a significant piece of our health is what we're consuming every day.
Absolutely.
So can you tell us if you have any life experiences or personal testimonies that you can share that have shaped your positions on health freedom and parental rights?
Yeah, just a couple, I guess, that are near and dear to my heart, right? Both of my parents are diabetic. So, I mean, I'm very aware of the diabetes issues in this country, right? 50% of the population is either diabetic or pre-diabetic. For the last 2.5 years, me and my wife have been trying for a child, unsuccessfully at the moment. Hopeful good news in the near future there, right? But we have a sharp decline in fertility rates across the country. Whether that's from vaccines, whether that's from the junk that we eat in our food system, whether that's from microplastics, these are the questions that our officials need to be asking. So, this hits really close to home. This is my day job and my night job. So yeah, I'm ready to help bring freedoms back medically and understand what's going on in the healthcare industry and make sure that we have our freedoms to make the decisions and the government isn't intervening in this process.
Fantastic. Felicia? I think you're muted.
Sorry about that. Okay. Well, Scott, thanks for sharing all that. And, from speaking to us, that it's very big concern of ours as well. It's important to understand what's going into our foods, into our medicines, having true informed consent is the big picture. And then because of that informed consent, having the ability to decide for yourself, and access to everything that's right and good for your body is just essential. So whatever it was that woke you up and introduced you all to all that, I'm just happy, and thank you for asserting yourself into this race. So our viewers, many of who are advocates that pay very close attention to issues of health freedom in the state, almost daily see threats on a state and global level. Threats of new exploding viruses, tightening of pandemic preparedness tactics. How do you view the government's role in personal health decisions? What limits do you believe should be placed on a government intervention in health matters?
So look, I believe that the personal health decision should remain between the individuals and their healthcare providers, right? The government's role, in my view, is to ensure that people have access to accurate information and resources to make informed decisions about their health, not to mandate or control those decisions. Like health freedom is a fundamental right, and when the government can play a role promoting public health, it must be careful not to overreach. Look, during emergencies like they did with the COVID pandemic, the government got involved and started pushing vaccines, far too abruptly and quickly, in my opinion, right? It's got to be a balanced approach with individuals' rights and freedoms highly considered. I believe the government intervention should be limited and temporary and based on sound scientific data. Far too often are, officials at the FDA that move on to drug companies. It's sickening that that they can fast track these drugs. So look, I think government mandates should never become permanent, and we must ensure the lessons that we learn from recent events don't ever lead to the erosion of individual freedoms in our future.
Absolutely. We agree. This leads us to our next question regarding a brand new bill that was introduced recently in Congress, HR 5828. And it's to amend the Public Health Service Act to end a liability shield for vaccine manufacturers and allow Americans injured by vaccines to have their day in court. This bill would make it easier for injured citizens to seek justice. It would remove the 2 to 3 year statute of limitations for lawsuits against vaccine makers and allow litigation by anyone who has been injured since the 1986 Act stopped lawsuits. The bill would remove protections for the COVID injection under the Countermeasure Injury Compensation Program. Is this a bill that you would support when you become a congressman?
Well, I understand the importance of holding companies accountable, right? Especially when it comes to something as personal and critical as our health and safety. Vaccine manufacturers, like any other entity, should not be above the law or shielded from legitimate accountability if their products cause harm. While vaccines have played an important role in public health, right, the safety of an individual must always be a priority. And the current liability protections can raise concerns for those who have been injured and feel that they have no recourse. So I would absolutely ensure that vaccine manufacturers are not above the law, right, and that we are holding them accountable and that there's proper due diligence and safety tested. So, look, a lot of the reason I'm running for office today is because of this, forced COVID vaccines and especially how they intertwined the employers into this. And if you don't get vaccinated, you're potentially out of a job. Those were all really alarming and frightening things for me. So, I'm proud and happy to fight these fights and to make sure that nobody's above the law and that we're doing what's best for the interests of our people. I would say literally during the pandemic, I watched that Netflix documentary Dope Sick, right? And it was so obvious, and I get it, that's fictionalized, right? But it was so obvious that, the Sacklers, right? And people like that, just how corrupt and how intertwined the FDA and these big pharma companies are. And it makes me sick. And here I am running for Congress, right? So, that's a huge portion of why I'm doing what I'm doing and to make sure that this never happens. I'll actually add one more point. We're glad to hear that.
Because we definitely,
Mel, if I just have one more point too, just like this issue, right? There was a recent farm bill that was proposed, right? And the chemical companies for the fertilizers, right, and spraying glyphosate all over, it's the same concept. And they want to put federal law into place that will limit liability on that side, on the agricultural side. So just like vaccines, right, food is all tied into this too. Thankfully, that farm bill has been delayed, right? It hasn't been ruled on. It's been delayed, and hopefully I can make it to Congress in January and fight like all hell to make sure that our food system can stay with states and local municipalities and not on the federal level, right? There's not a one-size-fits-all solution to these things.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, Felicia, you want
I was just going to say, it's just a very familiar playbook that they're taking from, so it hits to home. And we saw what happened when in 1983 and 1986, right after the Vaccine Injury Compensation Act occurred, and they removed liability from the vaccine companies and the explosion of vaccines. So I could only imagine that once you give indemnity to pesticide companies, you're just going to have that same overusage and whoever, administering of pesticides and explosion, so thank you. I'm glad you're aware of that. We're and championing that issue. And that's a great comfort to know that if when you get to Washington, and that's something that you're going to stand behind. Thank you.
So another recent bill that we helped leverage here in New Jersey, call to action for, would make way for federally qualified school-based health centers in New Jersey, on New Jersey school properties. This is far from comforting to many New Jersey families. As we know, the federal government has a poor track record in establishing health care here in New Jersey as well as nationwide. It's really more accurately described as sick care. Parents view this school-based healthcare clinics as a place where medical suggestions and coercion could be made directly to their child. And this is just another attempt to put a wedge between New Jersey children and their parents, in our opinion. How do you intend to protect parental rights, especially when it comes to healthcare decisions for our children?
Well, I share the concerns many parents have about the role of the federal government in healthcare, especially in schools. Right? Parents should absolutely have the final say in the healthcare decisions for their children, and any attempt to undermine that relationship is just simply unacceptable. I mean, the idea of a federally qualified school-based healthcare centers raises legitimate worries about whether these institutions should be used to influence or bypass parental input. I mean, particularly when it comes to sensitive health matters. My priority is to protect parental rights at all costs. Parents know what's best for their children, and any healthcare decision that involves minors should be made with the full consent and involvement of the parents, not government agencies nor schools. I mean, if elected to Congress, I would work to ensure that any policies related to school-based health clinics explicitly protect parental consent. I mean, this includes guaranteeing that parents are fully informed of any services or treatments being offered, and that there is no child is subjected to medical interventions or suggestions without parental approval. I would also oppose any federal overreach that tries to insert the government between parents and their children. I mean, I thought it was common sense, right? But like, parents know what's best for kids, right? I personally think, right, that there is no greater form of governance than the immediate family, right? That is how good values are taught. That is how decisions are made, not government intervention.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, so we are moving ahead to learn about a little bit more about your district and your campaign. It's just weeks away, like about 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks, a little something like that, right? The election is November 5th, and the early voting starts on the 26th and goes to the 3rd, correct?
Yep.
Yeah. So the early voting, just to note, that's only at select polling locations. So it's within your county. It's not going to be the polling location that you would go to on election day. It may be, but most likely.
I actually think you can go anywhere on that, though.
What's that?
You can go to any of the polling locations, I believe.
For the early voting?
Yes.
Okay, maybe that might be new. They're all opening up. I know in the past it was select polling locations per the county. So there was just
There is. I'm sorry.
Okay, yeah. So you don't want to show up at your local firehouse and realize that's not there. But it's convenient. I do it because I never know when a kid's going to get sick, or something happens and I can't make it work on election day. So I like to just know it's done. I go and get my voting done. Anyway, so it's just weeks away. I wanted to pivot to talk about the election. Tell us about your campaign in the district, any events or ways in which our viewers can support you.
Yeah. So we have a ton of events coming up. Actually, tonight there is a meetup at the Monmouth Republican headquarters. There's a phone banking night. We're providing dinner, the whole 9 yards. On every Saturday up until the election, we're having like a Super Saturday Day of Action. All of this is posted on my Facebook, right? That's Scott Fegler for Congress. We have an Instagram. It's also posted there. So feel free to reach out. Right, my website's Fegler, Fegler 2024.com. Most of this information is in my social medias and whatnot. So ton of events coming up. We're outdoor knocking. We're out doing all the events, phone banking, going to rallies, etc. So lots of excitement, lots going on. We have a really big movement. I mean, there's two big groups that kind of tie into your groups. One of them is Save the East Coast. It's very against offshore wind. Another one is the RFK Jr. campaign, actually, Make America Healthy Again. Those guys are really supportive because of my background in food, and I'm fighting that. We have a really diverse group of volunteers from all walks of life. A lot of traditional Democrats, right, are really coming out to support me. So it's really exciting in the campaign, and we'd love for you guys to get involved and come out and help and knock on doors and call your friends and family, yard signs, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, thank you. what can you tell us about, do you want to share anything about your opponent history or anything, what you're up against? Because
Yeah, look,
it's distinct.
I'm up against a career, 36-year career Democrat. It's sick that this guy has no real experience in business, in life outside of either Trenton or DC. I mean, he was in the state level before he was down in Washington. So for 40 years, right, the guy's been in office. Look, I mean, he gets donations from companies like Pfizer. He gets donations from companies like McDonald's. I mean, it's really frustrating that he votes with party lines 99.1% of the time. So we're really excited. We had a debate the other night, League of Women Voters. I shared it with NJ FIPAC. They'll put it in the chat, I think. So yeah, it was a really great conversation, a great dialogue, but we're excited. I mean, we have a really, really good chance of an upset here, right? It's hard to beat a 40-year Democrat, a 40-year incumbent. But if you're ever going to do it, it's a year like this. So we're jacked, we're excited, a lot of enthusiasm. And again, like a lot of non-traditional people are coming out and supporting, typical hardcore Democrats are actually jumping ship and getting involved in our campaign. So it's really exciting, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, you have a dynamic district in terms of the parental rights, health freedom movement. There are so many supporters that have come across and have met over the years that really care about this issue. So, if anybody that's listening that's in those districts, please reach out to Scott, reach out to the MAHA organization or the other group that you mentioned. What was that other group?
Save the East Coast.
Save the East Coast, and see if there's ways of helping with the phone banking or any of the other electioneering tactics that they may need. So we would like to give our viewers a sense of what you stand for and what you will advocate as a representative. I know you mentioned a little bit about what you're passionate about, but what would be the top priority list when you take office?
Look, I mean, there's a couple things. One is, energy. I mean, here in the 6th district, right, they're proposing offshore wind turbines all along the coast. And that's not just New Jersey, that's the whole East Coast, right? We had 44 whales washed ashore dead since December of 2022. It's also going to cost your energy or increase our energy bills about 40% once this gets implemented. So looking forward to common sense energy practices, looking forward to securing the border, right, and having mass immigration reform. All 4 of my grandparents came to this country as immigrants. They came over legally. This country was built on immigrant and immigration. Right, but what's going on right now is ridiculous, right? Like we need some common sense to, secure our border. So, and look, there's NGOs flying people in. It's really, really bizarre what's occurring. So, very much looking forward to, securing our border, fixing our energy problems. Right, the guy I'm running against, he's the ranking member of the Energy Committee. So he's really the architect behind this whole green, offshore wind type movement. And then it's, lastly is to, move more rights to the states and kind of end this federalism. Like groups like this where, local and state municipal, I talked a little bit about the Farm Bill, right? But I don't think the federal government should get involved on mass things like this, right? Leave it up to the municipalities and the states to decide these issues because we're more in touch with it. As voters, we get to weigh in on that.
Great. I'm excited. Those are really great points that you want to combat once you get down to DC. So we're excited.
I could have went on for another 10 minutes there, but in an effort of brevity, look up my website, look at my social media posts. We talk about the issues all the time. So.
Yeah. And we did put some links in the chat to your Instagram as well as your website so people can find you and connect with your campaign for sure.
Awesome.
So next we have the fun part where we try to get up close and personal with you and ask you a couple of quick fire questions. So first, do you have any pets?
I do not have any pets.
Okay.
I'm trying to get a dog though. I'm a little busy at the moment with campaigning.
Yeah.
But I hope to get a dog soon.
Okay. Well, I recommend rescuing a dog. And if you need any resources, I'm here to help. That's my other passion.
Awesome.
What's your favorite way to spend your weekend when you're not campaigning in real life? When you're not campaigning,
in non-campaign mode in real life. Look, I actually, ironically, me and my wife are busy working during the week, so we run some errands. But I really enjoy doing things together, running over to Costco, go grocery shopping together, cooking together. Going out for dinners. We're big food people, so we love going out to dinner and cooking together. So those are some of my favorite things to do.
So I'm going to throw another question in at you about what's your favorite restaurant in your congressional district? There's so many good restaurants in the Monmouth area.
There are. I got a real sleeper one. It's in my town. I walk there, which I love doing because my town has like 8 or 9 restaurants all within walking distance. So it's a ton of fun. But there's a little restaurant right next to the Sea Streak Ferry in the Highlands called Et Al, ETAL. And like everything is handmade, homemade. The food's great. It's a small menu, but the food is dynamite. So we love going there Friday nights, just having a great meal and walking back home.
Oh, that's perfect. Perfect location and great food. Can't ask for more than that. Can you tell us one thing that's on your bucket list?
I've traveled all over the world. I've been to some crazy, absurd places, but ironically, I'd really like to go to Greece. I've never done that one. I've made it to Croatia. I've been to Lithuania and all these other bizarre places, but I'd love to do Greece. So that is on my bucket list to travel there.
That's a good choice.
I'm kind of a history nerd too. So you hit the beach, you eat great food, and then you also, get to, sightsee and explore.
To Athens, yeah, go see things.
Awesome.
Great trip.
Who is someone that you look up to?
I would say Elon Musk, I think, is a pretty cool one. Look, some people may say give him a bad rap, right? But the guy came as an immigrant. He started several businesses, and he kind of like parlayed all those businesses and just kept rolling the dice very, very successfully. I mean, he is such an advocate for free speech, right? And he really puts his money where his mouth is, right? And spends tens of billions of dollars to buy, platforms like Twitter to ensure that we always have rights to free speech, and that the government is not infringing on or weighing in and deciding what we think is the news or social media or whatnot. So I think he is a really awesome guy to doing what he did. And obviously he's been highly successful, right? But he didn't come from much. So it was that uphill battle. And, he built something really, really incredible. He does probably say some silly, stupid things sometimes, right? But again, I'm just so impressed where he puts his money where his mouth is.
Great. And lastly, what's your favorite type of music?
I would say I like everything except probably country. I'm not really into hardcore country, and I would define I'm into island country, Kenny Chesney and stuff like that. But the hardcore country stuff, not for me. So rock, pop, techno, or however you want to call it, all that kind of stuff. I'm from Jersey. I'm from the Jersey Shore, so
Great. Well, the final question, and a question that we always like to ask our candidates here on the PAC chat, is what does health freedom mean to you?
Look, health freedom means to me that the government needs to inform us and give and vet things, but they need to stay out of our decisions, and they shouldn't be forcing anything, right? Here are the possible benefits. Here are the possible, effects of this all. And, but hey, you make your own informed decision, right? Inform us, right? That is the job of the government, is to inform us.
Great. Thanks so much for that answer. So Scott, before we let you run, can you please share with our viewers any way that we can support you and any other final words that you might have? Yeah.
Again, we have a bunch of events coming up. Feel free to get involved, come out, call your friends in Monmouth and Middlesex County. The Monmouth group is fantastic. There's a lot of excitement and fun down there. Middlesex, we're obviously trying to replicate what we're doing in Monmouth. So please come out, support us. Talk to your friends, talk to your families. I mean, this is an amazing opportunity this year to run. There's so many things on the line, and but we can't do it without your help. So, pitch in. Let's knock on some doors together. Let's make some phone calls together. And just spread the word. Even likes on Instagram and Facebook and reposts or whatnot. All of that is going to help. So, if you can make a donation, great. If you can't, and you can spare, 45 minutes on a Saturday to knock on 10 of your neighbors' doors and tell them about a great candidate, that's awesome too.
Fantastic. Thanks so much for being with us today and for connecting with our audience and giving them a way to connect with your campaign.
Well, thank you guys, and keep up the great work. And I'm looking forward to being vocal for all of the issues that we talked about today. And just ask my wife. I am quite the pain in the butt, so I will certainly be vocal.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Scott.
Thank you, guys. Have a great day.
You too.
Thank you, Scott. Take care. All right. Well, there you have it, folks. NJ5 PAC's Meet the Candidate interview with congressional candidate of District 6, Scott Fegler. I'm sure you can see what an outstanding perspective he has on our issue and how he would make a great asset to have in DC. So please, as he mentioned, reach out to him, see if there's anything you can do to help him. We thank you all for staying dialed in. It is not just advantageous, but imperative to have strong representation for New Jersey and our country. Our future and our children's future depends on it. Please, once again, visit our website and consider a contribution. 100% of our contribution goes to meeting, elevating, and supporting candidates and incumbents for the greater good of health freedom for our families and loved ones and yours. NJ5 PAC is a nonprofit, nonpartisan New Jersey State Political Action Committee. We are an organization made up of deeply committed and experienced advocates across a myriad of professional backgrounds who formed this PAC with one mission: to protect and strengthen the constitutionally guaranteed and fundamental rights of all New Jersey residents to make medical decisions for themselves and their families without coercion or undue constraint. Our primary goal in forming NJ5 PAC is to give the power back to the people of New Jersey by elevating political candidates and influencers who will either help or hurt that mission. Our endorsement process was developed with a set of standards and integrity. Every endorsement we make requires a minimum that candidates complete and submit the NJ5 PAC survey and participate in an in-depth interview with the board of directors. Other factors and considerations are prior voting records of the candidate, if they have any, or their political positions or statements on matters that affect our mission. Ultimately, the NJ5 PAC standards are to endorse candidates with transparency, integrity, and measurement without bias. To be an integral resource to New Jersey voters in this 2024 election year, our aim is to guide you where to vote and where your votes are warranted. The 2024 congressional race in New Jersey is an opportunity for you, New Jersey voters, to ensure health freedom and parental rights is represented and respected statewide and nationally. See you next time on the PAC Chat.